schedule your priorities, don't manage your time. So list out the priorities, go through them effectively because again, time is going to come and go. You can't stop it. You can't start it. Only God can.
So, hello, John Prather from Washington. It's lovely to have you on the Joe Show. Thank you for coming. You're a full time engineer. There's lots to get into today. You've played professional football and you're building an online business. So, when do you sleep?
Yeah, well, I'm excited to be on the show. Yeah, it definitely comes hard sometimes, and I'm a new father, which is another accolade to add on to there. But yeah, definitely
Lovely.
busy, but productive, which is great.
Yeah, okay. So, what's the actual rhythm of your day now that you've got that in the mix as well?
Yeah. So as an engineer, so kind of that 9 to 5, 8 to 5 time frame is obviously cornered off for job work. And then that 5 to 9, 5 to 10 time period is really where I focus in and hone in on my business. I remember one of my mentors told me when I first started my business that, 9 to 5 pays the bills, but 5 to 9, builds the lifestyle. So that's kind of how I've been doing it, obviously balancing it, 3, 4, 5 nights a week, building my online business, but it's been fun. It's been exciting. And my wife and I, we build it together. So it's been, kind of a passion project for the both of us.
That is fantastic. And I think with the pace of change, people are realizing that to be entrepreneurial is for now the way through that we see. So being able to do side projects as well as your main gig is so important. And I love that you've come on today and you can share a bit about how that's working for you. So what did you have to stop doing to make room for this?
Yeah. No, I work with a lot of my clients on this is about priority management. A lot of people say time management, which is important. You have to manage your time and do different things, but I feel like time just goes. But you can manage your priorities. So for me, one of the things I had to kind of do like a time budget for myself and audit. What's more important, what's less important. So for me, what I really started to cut out was obviously the scrolling time, the TV time, kind of those non-productive tasks. And I started to funnel that time into my business. And I realized a lot of the things I was already doing, I could start doing, but now make a profit with, like being on social media. Now if I just post content rather than consume all this content, I can start making money with it. An online business, a lot of the products and services that I market are things that I use on an everyday basis, water, toiletries, different things like that. I was like, well, if I just start to transition where I'm spending my money, I can just start making money with it and promote it to other people. So
It's
yeah, so it was kind of like a switch, if that kind of makes sense, to being a consumer to now like a producer.
that's a fantastic point to flip it on its head, to take the time you were already using scrolling social media and be a producer instead of a consumer and make it work for you. Bring in the dollars. So that's great. What would you say to people who think they don't have time? Because we all think we're a bit of a special case. I don't have time because.
Yeah, I guess what I would say is to somebody just like myself when I was, new college graduate, just starting off in the workforce, starting my own business. It's take it one day at a time. I feel like at least for me, I would always try to, I was kind of an analytical thinker, wanted to get everything perfect, perfectionist, and that kind of stunts your ability to move forward. So that would be my recommendation is just take it one day at a time. Don't overcommit, to doing something for the next 3 to 5 years. What can you do this week, this month? That can start to move the ball forward. And then opportunities and windows will start to open up as you start moving forward.
That is so gentle. That is actually beautiful, and it's
Mhm.
rather than people feeling like they're going to be hit over the head with a massive program they have to follow for something. Really good.
Yeah,
So you're
exactly.
using AI to make this work. Let's get into some specifics. So walk me through one thing that AI handles for you that used to take you hours, but now is just saving that time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the top thing I would say the top two things. The number one thing though is a sales funnel. So having something that can have a web page that can be running 24/7, that I can use as a call to action for people to sign up for and get some free information, has been a lifesaver. Because I feel like in most businesses, cold prospecting, cold calling, reaching out to people takes hours and hours, and there is still an aspect of that that I do. But using a sales funnel to be able to grab information so that I can reach out to my audience directly, and being able to put my business offers in front of them, has been a lifesaver. And then the other, I'd say 1B would also be kind of social media a planner where it kind of like can post content for you so you can batch create it and then you can have it go out, on autopilot rather than having to sit there every day and post, add your captions and all this. But the sales funnel definitely I would say would be number one, biggest time saver for me as a business owner.
Okay. So what tools do you use? Can you name particular AI tools that you're using at the moment in your business?
Yeah, the one that I use primarily for my funnels is system.io. Another very popular one is called ClickFunnels by Russell Brunson. I know he's built that out as well. So yeah, it's super super helpful. The cool part about it is that back in the day, obviously you had to kind of create your whole website from scratch. Now with a lot of these sales funnels, there's so many templates that it's quick and easy. It took me maybe an hour or two, to really get into it. Now to tweak it, get it good. I kind of again being a perfectionist took a little bit longer, but the basic framework of it, took like an hour or two, and I was able to start gathering leads and promoting it on my social media platform. So yeah,
Mhm.
system.io is the one that I use. I've seen as pretty affordable, but ClickFunnels is another one.
But what I like is that all of these platforms are building AI aspects into the platforms now. So for people who
Mhm.
might have once had to hire a copywriter, which I've done for hundreds of agencies where they'd say, "Can you write the copy for
True.
this funnel?" If they can prompt it well, it's getting to the stage where they can get very, very good results out of it. So I'm
Yeah,
imagining that
absolutely.
System.io is probably doing that. Is that the case? They've got little features there to help out, or
Correct, correct. Yeah. Anything that it doesn't, again, ChatGPT, Grok, all those other AI tools are super helpful. Like you said, sort of the copywriting, even with email newsletters, those are super, super helpful. So it's able to help me keep my clients and my list engaged as I'm, kind of moving them down the funnel, because like we were
Mm,
talking just before the episode, it takes a couple of interactions for somebody to meet you, get to know you before they actually want to buy and work from you. So those have been super helpful, working with, utilizing that AI and then also having some virtual assistants help out just to kind of give that human touch to it. But
mm.
yeah, system.io has great features for AI implementation.
Yeah, it's a good setup actually. I've seen a number of people using it very, very well. So, and I think
Mhm.
the key now will be learning the art of prompting as we move forward, so that people can differentiate their business from the others, because everybody's using, a handful of the same AIs to
True.
spit out stuff, and so the way we
Mhm.
can have an edge is by crafting that prompt so that the output stands out. Let's talk about automated systems broadly with the AI features
Mhm.
in them. If they've never used them, where would you suggest that they begin? If they're sort of listening to this and going, "Oh my goodness, I'm working in the day for a job at a job, and I want to earn some money at night, and what do I start with?"
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I can definitely say, I guess I can give a suggestion of where I started. The first thing that I prompted myself to do, like I said, I utilized the sales funnels. The first thing I did was I created what they call as like a lead magnet. So something that's free but intriguing enough for your audience that they would want, get value out of it, not just something that's, that doesn't have any value, but something that's free that they can, go to your sales funnel or webpage, give you their email so that they can be enrolled onto your email list, is the first thing that I did. So you can create something or you can also use affiliate offers. And that's what I would say would be the second thing, which is where you can really monetize it, where you can use affiliate offers or like myself being in network marketing, I have my own business, which is somewhat affiliate based where, I don't manufacture the products, but I can use the manufacturers to make money with it. Then the second step, once you get a list of names, you can then funnel those list of names into a sales funnel. This can be email marketing, so you can start emailing your list, whether it be daily or weekly, to present your offer to them, or you can right after that freebie, offer them an opportunity to buy something related to the freebie, that's a paid object. But I would definitely highly recommend for most people to start with some sort of an affiliate or network marketing type offer. That way, you don't have to create it all from scratch, especially if you're brand new, because
Mm,
trying to figure out, number one, you don't really know what works. So if you're utilizing an affiliate offer, you already know, hey, somebody's making money with this. So
yes,
I just have to figure
somebody's
out how to
paying for
make it
that
work for
product.
me.
Yes.
Exactly, exactly. So it allows it to kind of start without the huge, hurdle of, how do I create this, big offer, for somebody to pay me $3,000. It's like, no, just use, somebody else's offer and kind of start from there. But that free lead generation, that freebie, I like to call it, is a good place to start because there's a lot of stuff on YouTube or social media where you could, use as a freebie for people that are interested and those that click on it. Boom, then you can get their emails and then you can start playing around with, giving them offers, obviously in a way that they like, so you don't want to spam them. That's obviously not what
Mm.
you want to do.
And starting as an affiliate too gives you those marketing tools to support you often with
Hmm.
many setups, which is because there's a lot of psychology, even to create a lead magnet. You have to have it, as
True.
you say, valuable enough that people will exchange something personal, their email address for it.
Hmm.
And then you have to leave them hanging enough that it doesn't quite solve the problem. It gives them enough to trust you,
Exactly.
but they haven't
Hmm.
got that loop closed. They do need to take the next step, and then it builds that tension.
Hmm.
And having to come up with the idea for that and create it in a way that is effective is a lot of effort. So I like what you're saying for people just
Hmm.
starting out. Just go with what's proven and cut your teeth on something that
Yeah.
where there are some tools to help you. So that's really, really helpful, I think. A
Yeah.
lot of people are
Yeah.
feeling quite uncertain about the pace of change at work and how do they protect
Mhm.
themselves. And if they want to have a different stream of income, that's a good way to begin. So,
Yeah, definitely. And that's actually kind of on that same topic where what I work with most of my clients on is kind of in those beginning stages. What is the best lead magnet to start off with? How do you start generating, revenue with an affiliate offer? And then as you get more comfortable and confident, how can you start creating your own offers? And it's kind of, again, it's organic, kind of like I said with starting off with your time, just commit to a little bit. When you first get started, and then start going, slowly but surely, like again, system.io, which I mentioned, they have a free offer where I think you can create 2 or 3 funnels just for free, just as in their free package. So it kind of gives you a little bit to start playing around with. And then as you start saying, "Oh wow, this is cool. I'm getting the hang of it," then obviously you can kind of ramp it up. But yeah, I mean, you kind of hit it right on the head there. So
that's excellent. How do you decide what to automate and what still needs the human touch? It's a bit of a balance there.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's kind of again, it's two sides of the same, pendulum where it's like, you want to have as much human touch as possible because again, like you said, almost everybody's utilizing AI. So it's like people can kind of see when it's chat gpt and when it's you, so but on the flip side is you don't want to do obviously everything for yourself because then it wastes a lot of your time, so you do want to optimize. So for me, I mean, I think broad brush, generally speaking, what one of my mentors has taught me is, anything that you aren't competent in or you just don't want to spend the time doing, that's where you want to try to find a way to automate as much as possible. If you really enjoy a task and you are really good at it, I would recommend to maintain that under your umbrella of things that you do like actively, until you get to the point to where you've automated it and you have some good, you can get AI up to the point to where it can kind of work as good as you. But it is kind of a balance. It's an art. I wouldn't say that every single person should do the exact same cookie cutter method. There are
Mm.
general broad brush things that everybody can do, like we said, creating a funnel, having a lead magnet, using email automation. But generally speaking, when it comes to the actual content or what lead generation freebie that you offer people, it definitely is about the person. What are they interested in? What do they like? Because again, the audience you create, it's going to be easier if you like those same things, to create an audience around that for sure.
It's true. It's true. Over the years, I've sold plenty of things that are not anything I'm particularly interested in. And the way I've kept the magic in there so that I can do it authentically is recognizing the benefit it brings to the person who actually wants to buy that they love it. And that's enough for
True.
me sometimes, but it does help if you love what
Yeah,
you're doing. It certainly makes a difference. Yeah.
exactly.
Has AI ever got it wrong for you and had a bit of a faux pas? Like,
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been times where, when building out, whether it be, part of the sales funnel or in the emails, it's kind of messed up certain things in terms of wording or lettering or how they want to break things down. So, one of the things, again, kind of like I said, I always go back through, kind of with my own eyes and make sure that everything is kind of the way I like it. And I always like to put myself in the position of the person looking at whatever content I'm putting out, and
mm,
just making sure that, okay, if I were my ideal client, somebody that's looking for extra income, wants to start their own business, like would this connect with them? Would this be something that they would like? So
mm.
there definitely are times, again, AI, like you said, you have to get the right prompt really to get it out. But as long as you go back through it, I've seen that it does get you 80 to 90% of the way there, which is
Mm.
again really helpful in terms of being a time saver.
I think keeping the, like, instructions for your AI concise, detailed enough that
Yes.
it gets the vibe properly, but also concise, but also refreshing it, periodically because it starts to deteriorate a little bit. It's getting better for how long it can cope,
True.
but just refreshing it periodically makes a big difference as well. So
Yeah.
that's really great. Uh, so with your mindset and your systems, having a family, working full time, building a business on the side. I don't know if you still get
Mhm.
time to play football occasionally, but what shift in your mindset made all of this possible initially?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say biggest thing when I first started in business, the mindset was definitely about making extra money. So I got started right after college. I was actually in the process of playing professionally in Canada and then in arena football. And it was during that time frame when I first started my own online business and network marketing. And it was perfect timing, spare time, was able to keep working out, doing the things I wanted to do. Then subsequently ended up starting to, transition to as an engineer, 9 to 5, and maintain that business. And initially the mindset was really just about money. How can I make extra income? Kind of that dream of financial freedom, wanting to quit my job as soon as possible, all the things that you think when you're young and, ambitious. But I would definitely say as I've grown, it's transitioned into helping other people. One of my mentors, Bill Britt, always says, the true definition of success isn't how much money you make or the things that you get, but it's the people that you help along the way. So that's definitely been something as I've grown in my entrepreneurial journey, that has been kind of that motivation, to impact other people. Because, like you said, it's time consuming. It takes time away from family and things that you want to do to build a business. So making sure that it's kind of in alignment with those goals and values, has been key. But like I said, it kind of started off with money. Still is money. Obviously, I want to continue to make more money, but helping other people and making an impact, leaving a legacy has definitely been the
Mm,
transition, I would say, to where it is now.
there's absolutely no shame in money being the motivation to start a business. I think sometimes people, um, I guess I come from a background where it had to be all about the mission, which is, as you say, it is very good long
True.
term. But there is that first
Mhm.
instance where you have to sort of deal with Maslow's hierarchy of needs and get yourself clothed and fed so that you
True.
can lower the stress levels enough to think long term and go, okay, what do I want to contribute now? So,
Very
yeah,
true.
absolutely
Absolutely.
valid reasons to be getting into business, that's for sure.
Mhm.
What's the difference for you between building systems for your business and just working more to make more money and have more impact?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference is kind of again, it's the mindset. It's what do I want to accomplish? How far do you want to go? Because again, the more you actively, again, kind of as an engineer, analytical thinker, the more I want to control, and do everything myself. To some extent, it's definitely beneficial, but it limits the amount of time I have to do other things. So it's definitely been something again, especially as I've had my daughter and growing our family, has been something I've thought about and wanted to be very intentional of. I really want to build out systems, to the point to where it can operate just as good as I can, as much as possible, but also making sure that I'm engaged and involved at the key important aspects. So as much as I can automate, for example, utilizing the sales funnels, the email marketing, utilizing social media content to kind of get that reach, reach those colder contacts, and then as they start to come into my world, now my time can be more effectively spent on those warmer relationships, people like we were talking about who maybe have had 2, 3, 4, 5 interactions with me on social media. Now when we first sit down to talk, it's not, hey, let's go through all the rigmarole of introducing myself and what I do, but it's more of, hey, you already find value in what we're doing. How can I help you? So it takes so much time out, from what I was used to doing, to where we are now. So that's, I would say, kind of the mindset. So it's a balance. You can't go too far into systems, then it becomes kind of diluted, and you're not needed anymore. But you also don't want to be too hands on because then it obviously takes away a significant amount of time.
Mm, it's definitely systems. Even I used to have a team for my marketing agency, and I loved them to bits. And then I realized I
Hmm.
actually prefer working alone about a year ago. And I'm not generally a systems person, but it compelled me to think, how am I going to make this work? Because I suddenly had to do the work of 3 or 4 people, and it was before
Yep.
or the recent explosion of AI agents, particularly in the last month or so. But it's been a beautiful experience, actually. I've found that systems bring a real sense of calm and certainty. It's really,
Mhm.
really good. I think as an engineer, you've got a head start on knowing how to construct those well. Yeah.
Yep, yep, absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely.
with beliefs about online businesses, was there anything that you had to unlearn so that you were sort of free to run with it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess from the basic level of, growing up, I think most people are taught growing up, that whole go to school, get a good education, get a good job mindset. And that's really what I followed, So from a basic perspective, I definitely had to kind of grow out of that mindset of there's only a one track, way to do things.
Mm,
Kind of I think the book Mindset by Carol Dweck, she talks about obviously a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. So definitely growing up, I would say, I mean, there was definitely aspects where I had a growth mindset, but just overall the way that I thought about money and how to be successful was I would say very fixed. It's working on a job for a long period of time, working your way up the ladder. That was the first big barrier I had to break, was to realize that hey, there's other ways of making money. There's different avenues that you can go down, and then another big one, which kind of ties into football a little bit. But it's being able to handle rejection, because obviously in sales and business, not everyone's going to believe, even though they might believe overall in entrepreneurship and business, they might not believe in what you do. And they might not be
mm.
meant to be a part of your team and what you're looking to do. So being able to kind of balance that, I feel like that last key part I definitely built through football. Playing in college and then going on to be professional. There was a lot of opinions about what you should do, what you shouldn't do. So I feel like I was able to transition that into business as well. But I would say those are kind of the main things: is having that growth mindset, realizing that there's multiple ways to achieve your goals, and then being willing to embrace some rejection and realize that not everybody has to agree with what I'm doing for me to be successful at it and to move forward. And I feel like that's where it stops a lot of people, because they just sometimes don't have a thick enough skin to just push forward. Right on the other side of their obstacle is oftentimes, their blessing, but they just don't push through to get it. So those are the three things I would say that I had to change.
It's so valuable. When I think of all the times we, might talk to friends who are overthinking something before they launch it because they're worried that it won't work and
Mhm.
all that sort of thing. So being comfortable with rejection and looking at different ways through a problem is incredibly valuable. I'm so glad that you've shared that. Um,
Yeah.
so if you hit a wall and something's just not working, like it might be a really stubborn thing, how do you go about troubleshooting that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Kind of, I mean, the first thing that I would do is kind of obviously assess the situation. Is it something that I'm particularly doing that isn't working, or is it something again as a part of a system where it's like, hey, this part of the funnel isn't working, and then kind of going in and I guess really you know using that active effort. So one example that I can give that happened recently, was one of the funnels that I was building out. It just wasn't getting the results. I was getting some leads from it, but then transitioning some of those leads into actual buyers and clients, was just wasn't progressing at the percentage that I would like. So one of the things that I had to do is I sat down with my mentor. We kind of worked through it, saw the funnel, and was like, you know what? This is a little bit overcomplicated. It's a little bit wordy. That's probably why it's not getting the results that you're looking for. So we sat down, worked through it, and decided, hey, you know what? Let's, redo this a little bit, and scrap this funnel and kind of just go with the more traditional one that we had been working on. So that's what would be my thing is, sitting down, trying to figure it out yourself, but then ultimately having a mentor who can sit down beside you and help you, is invaluable, because sometimes they're,
Mm.
they're just outside. It's like that bird's eye view, they're not in the mess with you, so they can see some of the answers that maybe you can't see, being on the ground.
Yes, and they can go, "Oh my goodness, why didn't I see that?" That's fantastic. Got a few questions that I just want to run off quickly and just
Sure.
quick fire answers. So, what's one AI tool that you think everybody should try this week?
Absolutely. I would say it would be sales funnels. Build one out, start something, create a lead magnet, and start playing around with it. You'll see that your list will start to grow, and it'll be exciting for you to start to send out offers. So a sales funnel for sure.
Okay, what's the biggest myth about building an online business?
Biggest myth would be probably that get rich quick, that you're going to make money overnight, that you're going to be somehow a multi billionaire just by starting your own website. While there is a tremendous amount of wealth you can create, it does take skill set, it does take work ethic, even though it's different than maybe working a job. It does take a similar mindset of effort where you have to put in some work before you can get some results. So go in with the right framework where you're not expecting to be, a multimillionaire. You might hit one of those opportunities, but for the most part, you're going to have to put in the work. So yeah.
Okay, so side hustle advice in 10 seconds or less.
Uh, I would say schedule your priorities, don't manage your time. So list out the priorities, go through them effectively because again, time is going to come and go. You can't stop it, you can't start it, only God can, but you can prioritize what you do with your time. And that's ultimately what's going to make the difference.
Very good reminder. What would you tell your 25-year-old self?
I would say two things. One, trust God and trust the plan. Follow through, keep going forward. Everything's ultimately going to work out. Like they say, you've already made it through 100% of the challenges that you've come across in your life. So just keep moving forward. You're going to learn the things you need to learn. The opportunities that you need are going to pop up at the right time. So just be willing to take it. Don't be too close-minded. Be willing to grow and trust the process that, your path might be a little bit of a zigzag, but you'll get to the destination as long as you keep going.
Yeah, it's great. Best business buy under $100?
I'd say the best business buy would definitely be system.io, getting that funnel, where it could build out multiple different funnels. And that would be, again, a huge time saver because it helped build out funnels, email marketing campaigns, and a couple of other things, building out a list and you can export that list to other places. So that's been probably the best buy I've used, so many times.
You've given so much direct, quick, very actionable advice for people who might be looking at where things are right now and feeling a bit uncertain at the pace of change, who are working full time and want to start something for themselves, but maybe a bit scared or don't know if they can fit it in or don't know how to start. And you've just packed it all in, John. That's so valuable. Where can people find you online if they'd like to learn more about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say in the show notes below, we'll have my plugin profit guide, which basically walks you through exactly how to start from where you are today, to having your own AI-based business built from home. Especially somebody like myself who is working full time and has different clients and stuff like that.
Mm.
That was something that was key for me. So if you download that guide below, it'll give you walk you through the steps of how you can start from where you're at, and then ultimately we can connect and kind of dive a little bit deeper. One of my goals this year is to help 5 to 10 new people start creating an extra $1,000 per month in their own online business. So if you want to be one of those 5 to 10, definitely grab that guide. I'm sure also below you can check out some of my social media pages, John Prather _1 on all platforms, and then I do have a website, johnprather1.com, where you can also get some more info. But yeah, definitely check out the plug and profit guide if that interests you, and we can definitely work together.
It's a huge encouragement to people, John. Thank you for your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.